Who are you? Who are you? What are you doing inside my house? Snake! Snake! Let me get the cutlass. Shut up your mouth and stand there. What are you doing in my room?
A heavy body rolled beside him. A massive python lifted its head from where his wife used to sleep. His eyes glowed in dark. Ikenna screamed and jumped backward, almost hitting his head on the mud wall. Jesus, he shouted. What is this? Who are you? The python hissed softly. This is what you bargained for, it said in a low, calm voice. Ikenna froze, his mouth hung open. You? A python can speak? The snake tongue flicked in and out. Why are you scared, Ikenna? Is this not what you wanted? He shook his head, sweat pouring down his face. I don't understand. Where is my wife? What have you done to her? The python laughed softly, a strange dry sound. I am your wife. Ikenna's knees became weak. Stop this joke. My wife is not a snake. You were warned, the snake replied. You were told clearly what the price would be, but you said you didn't care. You said riches were more important. Ikenna swallowed hard. Memories began to flash in his mind. I did not know it would be this, he whispered. The python moved closer. You knew. You simply chose not to listen. You wanted wealth. You wanted to be a rich man in the village. Now you must live with the consequence. Tears formed in Ikenna's eyes. Please, change back. Let me wake up from this dream. This is no dream, the snake said firmly. This is your reality. Ikenna covered his eyes. How did I get here? How did my life become this? The snake remained steady on him. My dear viewers, I hope you're sitting tight and ready to enjoy this thrilling, educational and emotional video. Before we dive right into it, please, I want you to support me by clicking on the subscribe button on this channel and also click on the like button. And lastly, please comment where you're watching this video from, as I would like to know how far my video work. Okay, so let's go back to how it all began. In the village of Nnewi, tall Iroko trees stood like ancient guardians. The sound of birds echoed through the early morning air. Ikenna and his friends, Obi, Chidi, and Ugo, were deep inside the forest. They had set trap the previous night, hoping to catch bush animals they could sell in the market. But when they checked the traps, they found nothing, not even a small rat.
Useless.
Ikenna kicked a tree stump in frustration.
How do we survive
What kind
this?
of life
we must do
is
better
this?
or we
He
starve.
complained loudly. Do the rich men in this village have 2 heads? Why must we suffer every day before we can afford food? Obi sighed. Calm down, Ikenna. This is life. We are still young. Young? Ikenna snaps. We are growing older every day. Look at Chief Okoye. Look at Emeka the trader. They built big houses before they were 30. Chidi adjusted one of his empty traps. Maybe we need to double our hustle. He suggested, find a great man who can connect us, someone who can make us rich. Ugo shook his head. We must be careful. Not every fast money is good. If we work harder, increase our farming, maybe we should even learn a trade, and we will succeed. Peace of mind is better than sudden riches. But Ikenna was not listening. Peace of mind does not feed a hungry stomach, he said bitterly. See how those rich men move around with respect. Everyone greets them first. Their wives wear gold. Their children attend good schools. He kept listing names of people who had suddenly become wealthy in the village. Some of them, no one really understood how they made their money. His friends exchanged worried looks, but before anyone could reply, a rustling sound came from the bush. Grass cutter. Obi whispered.
There! Grab it
Immediately
fast.
they
Go,
became
go.
alert.
It's heading right.
The large animal
Heading
tried
up.
to run, but one of the traps caught his leg. The guys
for the
rushed
trap.
together, holding it down
It's in. The trap
carefully.
got it.
After
Good work,
some
team.
struggle, they finally
it tight.
secured
It's
it.
fighting
Then
back.
they shouted in joy.
Almost.
At least today we will not be empty. Carrying the grass cutter proudly, they began walking back to the village as the sun started rising. On their way, They saw a young woman walking gracefully ahead them. She balanced a basket on her head. Her wrapper was neatly tied, and her steps were confident. Ikenna's heart skipped. It was Ada. He had admired her for months from a distance but never gathered the courage to speak to her. He nudged his friends. Should I have approached her? Chidi laughed. If you don't, someone else will.
Ikenna, don't be scared. Go on.
Go,
Not
Joe.
scared, just
Be
nervous.
a man.
You can do it. We'll be
Ikenna
right
handed
here.
the grass
Go,
cutter
Ikenna.
to Ugo and ran after Ada. Ada, Ada, he called. She stopped and turned. Her eyes were bright. Ike, good morning. Good morning, he replied, trying to control his breathing. You look beautiful today. She smiled shyly. Thank you. I have been meaning to talk to you, he continued. You are not only beautiful, you are intelligent and respectful. I have been admiring you for a long time. Ada's cheek turned red. Is that so? Yes, he said boldly. I like you, and I want to know you better. I want you to consider me, please. She looked down for a moment. I have heard you, she said softly, but I need time to think about it. I will wait, he said quickly. They exchanged farewells and she continued on her way. When he returned to his friends, they cheered and clapped. You are brave, be said. When they reached Ugo's hut, they shared the meat equally and then each went to their homes. That night, Ikenna lay on his mat inside his small hut. He stared at the ceiling made of dried palm leaves. He could not sleep. He kept thinking of Ada's smile. He also kept thinking of how to make money. He closed his eyes, not knowing that the choices he would soon make would change his life forever. Ikenna drifted into sleep that night with Ada's smile filling his thoughts. The cool night breeze entered through the small window of his hut, and the sound of distant drums from a neighboring compound slowly faded as he slept. At dawn, the crowing of the village rooster woke him. He stretched and smiled to himself. Today felt important. He quickly fetched water from the clay pot and bathed outside beside his hut. Afterwards, he dressed in his best outfit, a clean white singlet and a neatly wrapped blue Isiagu wrapper his uncle had given him during the last New Yam festival. He combed his hair carefully and looked at his reflection in a small broken mirror. He nodded with satisfaction. He packed some cassava, yam, a bottle of palm oil, and his share of the grass cutter meat from the previous day into a sack. It was not much, but it was the best he had. With confidence in his steps, he headed towards Ada's compound. Ada's family house stood at the end of a narrow red path with banana trees. The compound was swept clean. Chickens moved freely. He cleared his throat respectfully at the entrance. Good morning, Mama, he greeted Ada's mother, who was seated on a wooden stool sorting vegetables. She looked up and smiled warmly. Good morning, my son. Ikenna, right, isn't it? Yes, Mama, he replied, bowing slightly. How is your night? It was peaceful. You are welcome. What brings you here so early? I came to see Ada, Mama, he said politely. She called into the house. Ada, someone is here for you. Ada stepped out moments later. She wore a simple wrapper and blouse. Her hair was neatly braided. When she saw Ikenna, surprise flashed across her face. Ikenna, she said, why are you here? And why so early? He shifted slightly, suddenly aware of how bold he must look. I am sorry for coming uninvited. I just wanted to see you and to bring this. He lowered the sack and opened it to show the food items. Ada's expression changed. You didn't have to do this, she said quietly. It's nothing, he replied quickly. It's just small appreciation. She folded her arms gently. Ikenna, you cannot buy my love. He shook his head immediately. No, that is not what I am trying to do. I only want to show you that I value you. I don't want gifts to be the reason we talk, she insisted. I want sincerity. Before the conversation could grow tense, her mother stood up and came closer. I will accept it on her behalf, Mama Ada said firmly, lifting the sack. Young man, thank you very much. Don't mind her. Mama, Ada began. Her mother cut her off gently. My daughter, This young man woke up early and brought food to this house. That shows respect. Do not send him away with your pride. Ada sighed softly. Mama, I only want to make it clear that I am not after gifts or money. I want genuine intention. And that is good, her mother replied. But do not mistake kindness for manipulation. Ada looked at Ikenna for a moment. He stood there humbly, eyes lowered. Finally, she nodded. Thank you, Ikenna. Relief washed over him. They sat under the mango tree in the compound and spoke quietly. Ikenna told her about his plan to work harder and support his future family. He spoke confidently, painting pictures of a better tomorrow. Ada listened carefully. I believe you have good intentions, she said at last. Let us see where this goes. His face brightened. Does that mean? She smiled shyly. Yes, we can start something now. Before he could say more, two young women entered the compound laughing loudly. Ifeoma, Chidinma, Ada called. They stopped when they saw Ikenna. Ifeoma teased. Ada, who is this handsome visitor? Ada's cheek turned red. This is Ikenna. Ikenna greeted them respectfully. Good morning, ladies. Morning, Chidinma replied with a knowing smile. After a few more polite exchanges, Ikenna excused himself. I will take my leave now, he said. Ada, I will see you later. When he left, Ifeoma immediately turned to Ada. So, when did this start? She asked playfully. Ada laughed. This morning. Chidinma raised a eyebrow. Wow, that was fast. Mama Ada come out again, proudly lifting the sack of food. You see this? This is how responsible men behave. When you find a provider, do not let him escape. Ifeoma nodded quickly. Mama is right, oh. A man who brings gifts early will bring more later. Chidinma frowned slightly. Gifts are good, yes, but money should not blind us from seeing real intentions. Commitments and characters matter more. Ada nodded in agreement with Chidinma. This is what I was trying to say earlier. Mama Ada and Ifeoma laughed at them lightly. You young girls are, and your modern thinking. Mama Ada said, love is good, but a woman must also think about her future. The conversation drifted to other matters, but Ada felt something heavy in her chest. She hoped she had made the right decision. Later that evening, Ikenna walked proudly to Ugo's hut, where Obi and the others usually gathered. Obi looked up as he entered. Ikenna, you look happy. What happened? Ikenna sat confidently. Ada is now my woman, he said. Chidi nearly dropped the cup he was holding. So fast? How did you do it? Obi narrowed his eyes curiously. Yes, tell us, how did you pull that off so quickly? Ikenna leaned back and smiled with pride. Everything is easy when you know your way. Ugo watched him quietly, saying nothing. The sun slowly disappeared behind the palm trees as the young men laughed and talked, but somewhere deep in the forest, unseen by them, something stirred. And the path Ikenna had chosen was only just beginning. Please, if you are yet to, kindly hit the subscribe button and also click on the like button on this video. This encourages us to do more. The days that followed were filled with laughter and sweet promises. Ikenna and Ada's relationship blossomed quickly. Every evening, he would walk her home from the stream. On market days, he would carry a basket. During village meetings, he would sit close enough to hear her whispers. He went out of his way to please her always. If Ada mentioned liking a wrapper she saw in the market, he would find a way to buy it. If she admired beads worn by other girls during a festival, he would surprise her with something similar the next week. What Ada did not know was that many of those gifts were not from his sweat alone. Ikenna had begun borrowing from Obi and Chidi. Just lend me small money, he would say.
How much? And
I
when
will
can you repay
repay
it?
after the
Just
next
enough to get by.
autumn.
I'll pay you back soon.
At first, his friends helped willingly, but their hunting trips were no longer fruitful. They would set traps for days without catching even a rabbit. Farming was not yielding much either. The dry season had been harsh. Still, Ikenna continued his display of generosity. Ada sometimes grew uncomfortable. You don't have to do too much, she would say gently. Your presence alone is enough. But Ikenna would laugh it off. A man must take care of his woman. Meanwhile, Mama Ada enjoyed every moment. She admired the food items, the wrappers, and the small cash gifts. One evening, when Ada was alone with her, Mama Ada turned to her. Nne, when next is coming, ask him to bring more money. Tell him you need it for something important. Mama, I cannot do that, Ada replied. I don't want him to feel pressured. Mama Ada shook her head. You are too soft. If a man truly loves you, he must provide. Ada remained silent, uncomfortable with her mother's words. As weeks passed, Ikenna's borrowed life began to crack. Obi and Chidi started refusing his request. We also need money, Obi said one afternoon. Things are hard for us as well. We can't continue to borrow you money. All right, my friends, I understand you, Ikenna said. Then he left and returned home. One afternoon, Ugo gathered them under the big Udala tree. I have made a decision, Ugo said calmly. I am going to learn a trade in Onitsha. Obi frowned. At our age, to go and serve another man? Ikenna laughed. People will mock us. We can't do that. Ugo looked at them seriously. Let them mock. I would rather be mocked today and succeed tomorrow than remain here complaining every day about hunting and farming. They hesitated. Serving as an apprentice felt like lowering themselves. They were already grown men. No, Ikenna said firmly. I will continue farming and hunting. Obi nodded in agreement. Ugo sighed. Very well then, I wish you both the best. Within a week, Ugo left the village. Months passed. One afternoon, whisper began to spread through Nnewi. Have you heard? Someone said at the market. Ugo is building a new house. Ikenna dismissed it at first, but the rumor grew stronger. That evening, Ikenna got dressed and went to Obi's house. Have you heard about Ugo? He asked. Obi nodded slowly. Yes, they said he has started roofing a new building near his father's land. They were both silent. How did he get that kind of money so quickly? Ikenna wondered aloud. Obi lowered his voice. Maybe he did not go to learn any trade. What do you mean? Maybe he went for money rituals, Obi whispered. Ikenna's eyes widened. The thought frightened and excited him. Yes, he said slowly. Maybe he lied to us. They decided to visit Ugo and demand answers. But when they got to his compound, they met only his younger brother. Ugo is not around, Iboy said to them. They returned the next day. Still, Ugo was not home. Frustration grew in Ikenna's heart. That same afternoon,
Those
Ikenna
yams smell
returned from the
incredible.
market tired
Fresh from
and
the fire.
hungry.
Come, have
The
some.
smell of
I will,
roasted
thank
yam
you.
and fried stew filled the air from the roadside vendor. He stopped. He thought of Ada. Without hesitation, he bought 2 portions. He imagined the smile on her face when he surprised her. As he approached Ada's compound from the back part, he heard voices. He paused. It was Mama Ada's voice. You must think wisely, Ada. You know you are beautiful, she said sharply. I thought Ikenna was rich when he first came with gifts, but now I can see that he is also struggling. Ikenna froze. He is trying his best, Ada replied softly. Trying his best will not build a house. Her mother snapped. You need a man who can change your life. I love him, Ada insisted. He is kind and genuine. Kindness does not put food on the table, Mama Ada said coldly. Look at Ugo, his friend. They said he is now connected to something big. Show yourself to him instead. Mama, Ada shouted angrily. I will not do that. Behind the hut, Ikenna stood like a statue. Every word pressed his heart. The warm yam in his hand suddenly felt heavy. Tears filled his eyes and dropped silently on the ground. Without making a sound, he turned and walked away. The path through the village forest felt longer than usual. The trees seemed to whisper around him. His chest ached with betrayal and shame. So I am not enough, he muttered. As he walked absent-mindedly, he noticed an old woman sitting on a low wooden stool by the bushy path. Her clothes were worn and faded. Her hair was grey and tied loosely. My son, she called gently. He stopped and greeted her respectfully. Good afternoon, old woman. She smiled weakly. I am very hungry. I have not eaten since morning. Can you help me? Ikenna looked at the plate of roasted yam and stew in his hands. He did not hesitate. Take this, Mama, he said, handing it over to her. Her eyes brightened. Thank you, my son. He nodded and turned to leave. My son, she called again. He paused and looked back. Yes, old woman. She stared at him deeply, her eyes suddenly sharp and knowing. Tell me, she said slowly, if you were given a chance to change your life completely, no matter the cost, would you take it? Ikenna forced a dry laugh when the old woman asked a strange question. With my situation now, he said jokingly, I can sacrifice what I love the most just to change my life for good. The old woman looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes were calm, almost too calm. She smiled slowly. Go, she said softly, and do not be afraid. Ikenna did not think deeply about her words. He assumed she was just another poor, hungry woman talking in riddles. He waved lightly and continued down the forest path.
Soon he is going to lose what is dearest to his heart. Be careful what you wish for. Someone might be desperate to give you answers, good or bad. Like this video and leave a comment if you want to see the next part.